Killer clowns from outer space. Holy shit.
Never grow old, Michael.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
Showtime.
Welcome to Sinister Scripts podcast. We've got a very special guest with us today, Owen, who is starring in the upcoming R.I.P. Man horror thriller, we'll call it. So, Owen, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So, it's kind of funny. We started. Actually, I don't remember. Like trying to think about how did I meet Jamie? And he started. Jamie reached out originally about The Cellar, and so we had Megan come on the podcast, and we talked to Megan about The Cellar, and she's winning Best Actress in Horror awards at all these film festivals. And through Jamie met Reese, and then through Reese got pointed to the R.I.P. Man short, like I'll call it a short, more of like a proof of concept, which is now becoming a feature film. And he was like, "Hey, how would you like to talk to Owen?" And I was like, "Yes, sign us up."
Absolutely, yes.
So let's start. I'd like to find a little bit, learn a little bit about you and kind of how you got your, into acting. And I guess we can start there. I'm curious if horror was always, something that you loved, or if this is something you just kind of was a role and you took it and, you are a horror fan or not a horror fan, just kind of your journey as an actor.
Oh yeah. Well, no, first of all, yeah, I am a big horror fan. That was
Excellent.
part of my, yeah. So, I guess I sort of started getting into acting like when I was about 12. I suddenly got like movie channels at home and was like getting quite and sort of started. That was about the age I really got into movies and was watching as much as I could. And round about the same time, schools in England, like when you get to 12, 13, they start putting drama as a separate subject, and it's something that they actually give a little bit of time to.
Okay.
And I was just kind of like, oh, I actually quite enjoy this. And the teacher was giving some compliments. And because I was becoming quite a big movie geek at the time, and I'd never really thought about, I know a lot of kids think about like, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? I didn't really have any sort of dreams and aspirations at that age. So it was the first thing where I was like, oh, maybe this is something I can do.
Sure.
And I kind of never really let go of that 12-year-old thought, really.
Nice.
Soon after, my mum was a big horror fan, and she had like rows and rows of VHS tapes, like recorded off the TV of various horror films. And I remember one evening, I didn't really think about horror too much at that age, and then I one day just saw Candyman on the TV, and the whole film put me on edge, and it was a feeling a film had never really given me before, where I wasn't like terrified because I was a bit old for that, but I was just really nervous about what was to come while watching the film. And because obviously it was a very slow burny kind of film when she's exploring the old apartment and stuff. And I just always remember how that film made me feel. And I got addicted to that feeling. And suddenly I wanted to see all these films that my mum had, and like all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and Friday the 13th, Halloween, Lost Boys, and Near Dark, and a load of films like that. Like I watched it quite a young age, and so
Nice.
I'm a big horror fan too.
Do you have any favorites, like franchises or anything?
I mean, franchise-wise, I guess Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream are probably my two big, like as far as franchises go. Because I generally like all of the films in both franchises to a certain degree. The Thing is my favorite horror film of all time.
Nice.
Yes,
that was
that's like a great one.
Never get enough of it. I always come up with different theories of what's happening off camera when certain characters get infected and stuff. And
right.
And the original It as well, the Tim Curry one, was another. I saw that when I was really young, and I was terrified of it for years until I went back to it, and I was like, actually, this is just a good film. And
yeah,
awesome.
I remember seeing that when it premiered on TV. I remember seeing that as a kid, and it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, like I think it premiered in the UK around about like 92 or something. So
I think it was maybe 90. Yeah, early 90s for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the it's funny that you mentioned The Thing because like there was a movie theater near us that does what do they call it? Friday Night Frights in
Yeah.
October. Every Friday they play horror movies. And this year The Thing was one of the movies, and David and I were like, we jumped at the chance because that's a movie from
Mhm.
what 1978. That was David, what year
82.
were you born?
82, I
Okay, so
think.
it was 82? 78
It
is
was 80.
Halloween. Sorry, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, The Thing is
Um,
82, yeah.
but this was not a movie that either of us had a chance to see in theaters being, I was born in 86. Um, and so we were looking at this and we were like, this is a movie we would love to immerse ourselves in. And so we went there and we sat in the theater and we turned off our phones and we literally
Mhm.
just disappeared into that movie. And let me tell you, we've seen it multiple times. There's something about that movie, like between the sound design and obviously the practical effects. It's just to your point, yeah, it was enthralling. I felt like I just disappeared and disconnected for a few hours, and
Mhm.
it totally changed the perspective of the movie being in the theater and seeing it like that.
Yeah, it was
No,
amazing.
I had the privilege of seeing it in the theatre a couple of years ago too. They did yeah, there's a cinema quite near me which mainly specialises in playing old films. So
Oh,
um,
nice.
yeah, a friend of mine who's very, who goes there all the time. He just messaged me when the thing was on, being like, "I think you
Yeah.
want to see this." And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a different feeling, and I love seeing films in the cinema because I think that watching films at home, especially with like mobile phones now, it's amazing what short attention spans we've developed. So when a
Yeah.
film's got
Mhm.
full attention, and yeah,
I'll 100% agree. I mean, between phones and then I have an 8-year-old daughter, David's son. David's got a son and then a small daughter now. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
distractions and being able
There
to
is for
disconnect
sure.
and that feeling of seeing a film on the big screen and like we were talking about on one of the podcast episodes, like what is a movie you wish you could go back and watch again for the first time to get that feeling, like you said from Candyman, where you're just like, it's almost like adrenaline. You're hooked. You're
Mhm.
like, you're scared. The anxiety, whatever it is about that film made you feel a certain way. And it's different for everyone, which I think is the beauty of film. And so the thing was one of those where I was like, man, imagine seeing that for the first time in theaters when it was released, because the first movie I really remember that feeling for was Jurassic Park in 1994, right?
yeah.
I remember seeing that movie and being like, holy shit, like they brought dinosaurs back to life, and being a kid and
Right?
being like, this is, and I never got that feeling again. I still love the movie, but to be in a theater and have that feeling and all those emotions and everything else, that's what's great about cinema.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're a horror fan. Sometimes people are like, we've talked to people that are like, I'm not really a horror fan, but I'm starting to learn to love the genre because it really is I feel like it's a different genre from anything else. And so talk to us about, how did you meet Jamie and kind of become involved with the R.I.P. man?
Yeah, so I I knew Jamie through a close friend of mine who he was friends with,
Okay.
and I think I originally got a role in a film thanks to Jamie called A Prelude to Fear, which was in 2017 we did it, and yeah, well, I just played a police officer in a small scene, and I got to know him through there, and I sort of got to know him, yeah, like I got to know him socially through from then on,
Hmm.
and we did like other things together, like because Jamie's an actor, he's been an actor for
Sure.
many years,
Hmm.
and yeah, we did things like we did a murder mystery night together one time, and I just he just was someone that I knew as a friend of a friend that I occasionally met and like did acting with occasionally, and then
Hmm.
one day, this is like August last year or maybe
Hmm.
July, he just sent me a message on Facebook Messenger just saying with I don't know if you've seen the promo picture for R.I.P. Man, like the
Yeah.
drawing.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he sent me that, and he just with the message, "Would you be interested in playing the title role for this film?"
Wow.
Um, and then he said,
Nice.
and then he is literally as blunt as, "Here's the script," and sent me the script, and like
No
and
pressure.
yes, I had a look through the script, and it's like I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I was just like, yeah, definitely. And it was sort of like it went from then on, and then we soon, like a few weeks later, we went on to film that 8 minute short, well,
Yeah.
proof of concept short that you saw. I
Hmm.
guess yeah, I didn't have to audition or anything, but I
Right.
guess he's worked with me before,
Sure.
and he also, so for quite a few years, I used to work in like a horror attraction in London,
Okay.
where
Oh,
like
cool.
do you know the sort of things where you like dress up as a zombie and like
Yeah.
jump around corners and chase tourists with a chainsaw and
Yeah, yeah.
like, like yeah. So I was quite used to playing sort of like horror monster characters. So I guess he thought I was the right guy for that. Out of
Gotcha.
everybody, I
Very
guess. So
cool.
yeah.
So, so from what I understand, and I'm obviously you're not Reese, but this is based on a book, like a novel that Reese wrote originally. Is that correct?
A screenplay. So
Screenplay.
it's like yeah. So he originally wrote it. I think so he wrote it hoping to film it in America originally.
Okay.
So if you are ever to read the original screenplay, it would say it was all set in America and like it was yeah, it's been adapted as we've been
Gotcha.
filming it.
God, okay.
Yeah, so I think he originally was hoping to take it over to the USA, but then he then he went for and then he met Jamie and they decided because I think Reese was involved in the cellar as well to some
Correct.
degree.
Yeah.
And then yeah, he
It was just funny
I
how
guess they just decided to make it suitable for England.
yeah, no, I mean,
Thank
so
you.
it was funny because when Reese reached out and he was like, I think he reached out on TikTok to me and was like, hey, like I saw some of your reviews, like, I'm working on like a concept short that we've got. I'd love for you to take a look at and just to get your thoughts. And we're hoping to make it into a feature. And I was like, oh, that absolutely. Like, I love short films. I've actually recently dove into like every night. I watch 8 or 10 of them, just ones that people recommend and some that and it's amazing to me how good they are and like
Oh, yeah.
because you have a very limited window to really grab your audience and instill all of the you can't do all this character development, you can't build this backstory, you can't build up these characters, and so it has to be grab them. And so I'm really amazed a lot of times on very little budget also being able to put out quality product like that. And so that's like I love it. And when I saw the R.I.P. man, I had no understanding. I had no background into like what the character is and anything. And it was amazing because the story it told in 8 minutes, I was like, I've got it. Like the character, first of all, you're terrifying, and like you're such a nice guy. Like you have a nice smile, and I'm like this. You're so approachable, and I will look at that. I watched it just about 15 minutes ago again before we talked, and I was like, this guy's scary. Like the character was scary, and I was
yeah.
it had that very like real like a home invasion almost mixed with like a slasher. Because obviously it's like you're a killer that is essentially murdering people and taking their teeth, almost like this. It has a very like Tooth Fairy-esque murder quality of it. And I tell you, I was like, I saw that and I reached out to David and I was like, you got to watch this. I reached out to a few people and I was like, this is going to be really, really good. And like went out, sent the Indiegogo, and I was like, y'all, we need to support this because this could be really exciting. So I will say that like I'm so excited to see what you guys have come up with. And like I said, the character was menacing. I told David, I said, David, it's like, to me, it reminds Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, at first I was like, it's like a demented Billy Corgan, but way more scary.
Yeah, stealing your teeth.
I've been told, had the Billy Corgan thing my whole life. Like, I mean, more so when I was younger and he was younger. Like, yeah, it used to be something when just people would serve me in shops and be just like, you look like Billy Corgan. And like,
it's a compliment. It's a compliment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've always enjoyed the comparison, but like, especially the Avrador video, I guess.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so what can you tell me about getting into that character? Because like I said, you seem like a very nice, very approachable person, and like trying to change your mindset to get into someone who's a ruthless killer in a film, it's a totally different way of thinking. So how do you get into that character?
Yeah, it's interesting, like, because obviously, like, you've got to obviously I know the backstory of the character, which I can't really reveal as something to be revealed in the film, but yeah, I mean, I will say he is out for a form of revenge, so that's one thing that you can sort of build up in your head, and then also take the reason out of your head. So, like, because I don't think this is a character that has much conflict inside of him. I think he very much has met the dark side and he knows what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He also enjoys because he was born with I don't know if Reese or Jamie shared the backstory of the character with you at all, with in the fact that he was born with a rare gum disease, which is actually real, called anodontia,
Oh,
where you're born without teeth, and it can be quite painful as well. Apparently, like you can get like quite a lot of sores, and
okay.
Oh, okay.
and he was given up. Yeah, he so he spent a lot of his life in, like, he was given up for adoption and spent a lot of the time is in a mental hospital. So or insane asylum, whatever the right term is. And yeah, and so he's got his motive. He's got his motives, and he's targeting these group of people. And I always think, like, the main thing he wants is those teeth. He almost sees them like a set of trophies. I compared it to like when the predator wants to collect skulls.
Yeah.
He wants to collect,
Sure.
he wants to collect a tooth from each victim. And I've tried to really sort of incorporate the fact that there's not much. He wants to. He's focused, mainly just focusing on making that kill, and he really just wants to take the life out of that person as soon as he can. And he doesn't have much fun with, like, once he realizes that the tooth is close, his face. I try to incorporate it so his face almost lights up, and he's suddenly a lot happier
That's awesome.
about what he's doing. And like I've tried to sort of have that where it's just like, oh wow, like, so his thought process is like, I'm gonna get it. I'm actually gonna get what I want. Like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's trying to take that sort of human voice of reason out of your head, though, which I think's, when you go really far gone, it does go, and he stops seeing the person he's attacking necessarily as a person and more as an objective. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Nice.
I think with a lot of these characters, I think sometimes, like, people they want these elaborate backstories, which I think that from what you just told me, there is a backstory there. But also sometimes I like the Michael Myers and the Halloween approach, where evil is just evil. There's no maybe there's no rhyme or reason. Like you said, he has an objective, and it's simply revenge, and it simply is getting those teeth and, killing the person and then moving on, right? Like there's not any good left in him. And I know more of that we'll come to see when the film is released, but that definitely came across for sure.
Yeah. That's how I've sort of envisioned, without, like, I'm not obviously giving spoilers away.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
like, I don't think the character. I will say I do, from my perception at least. I mean, obviously, audiences can take it other ways, but for me, in my head, I think he might have had conflict in the past, but at the point you're seeing the film, he's at that dark place. He's
That's so whenever you get into a role like that, do you have any trouble getting out of that headspace? Because sometimes it is quite a dark headspace, and I'm curious, you see roles that people are consumed by. Have you always been able to separate the two?
I've never gone to a point where, like, I mean, not for this character. So I'd say for this character, you do feel, because obviously, like, everyone else on the set is all just normal people, and then there's me, who's, like, obviously painted up, and I've got these really uncomfortable mouth guards in, and they do kind of make you not feel like yourself. And
Right.
yeah, and even when I look in the mirror, like, obviously as that character, I look quite different to how I appear, because obviously the mouth guards change your appearance when you take them off. My teeth are blacked out, so I see no teeth. Like usually, and like, so you see someone quite different in the mirror, and you feel like someone quite different. So you do. I suppose there's a little process after the scene. There's that little adrenaline dying down from being that character. But I wouldn't say I've gone to that point of. I'm not a method actor, so if that makes sense, I'm not someone who.
Yeah.
I don't walk onto set thinking I'm the R.I.P man. I let that up.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Well, so, I mean, sometimes I'll go through like a long horror, I call it like a watch-a-thon, and I swear I close my eyes just as a viewer, and I'm like dreaming about like the most wild, vivid dreams from watching all these movies. And so I'm like, man, I can't imagine like being an actor, and sometimes you're like, this is what I'm living day in and day out, and like trying to be like, okay, that's a role, but to your point, some people, everyone's different. So some people do become more method where they're like, that's what they have to live and breathe to create the character. And some people are able to have those, separate the two. So I was just curious how that worked for you as a process.
No, of course. I mean, it's an art form and it's a craft. So, like, everyone has, and the beauty of it is everyone has their own ways to get to their goal. And yeah, every act, like when you're taught acting, you're given everyone's different approach on it, and you take the parts of each approach that you feel work for you. But when you're saying about, I mean, in other roles in the past, when I've had to play more, when you play like quite emotionally driven, heavy bits, it can take that bit like. It can take a bit more of a sort of cool down period when you take yourself to emotional place. And
Yeah, that's how I feel about watching all these movies sometimes, because some of these, like especially horror, there's quite a range of horror, from, what I would call like, my daughter's 8 and she really desperately wants to get involved and watch the movies that I watch. And I'm like, you're not quite there yet, but there's some entry level horror, like Beetlejuice, for example, which I'm trying to start to get her into. But when I watch some of the far other side, like your Terrifier films, I have to watch, to your point of a cool down, I have to watch like a cool down movie or show afterwards, something light, something comedic to kind of change my headspace a little bit sometimes.
God, yeah, Terrifier 3 was, I saw that in the cinema a few months ago, obviously when it came out, and yeah, I don't know if
something
that uncomfortable in the cinema.
Listen,
especially that opening scene.
Oh, I tell you, so it was funny. It was probably like less than a year ago. I messaged David and I was like, "Hey, Dave," because we had been to several conventions and Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton, a lot of the folks were there from Terrifier, and I'm not a big gore fan necessarily. I've seen my share, but I was like, David, go watch Terrifier, the first one, and let me know if I can handle it. And he like messages me and he's like, "Hey, guy, there's a scene I'm not so sure. Like it's pretty rough to watch." And I was like, "Okay." And then he watched the second one and he's like, "Oh, there's another scene where I don't know." Fast forward, I went to a convention in Miami. Terrifier 3 had just come out and they were doing a private screening, and David Howard and Damien were there doing a Q&A before the movie, and my buddy was like, we got to go. That's a cool opportunity to talk to the cast and see the film. So long story short, I binge watched 1 and 2 and then saw a third one in the cinema. And let me tell you, like, I don't know if these are one and dones for me. Like, I've seen it. I don't need to like the rewatchability, because there's a few scenes, like to your point, like I have a daughter and I'm like that first scene in the third one and I was like, oh my gosh, like no one is safe. Children are not safe. Like this is definitely, it's not for everyone. We'll say that. And that's why you have the very, I feel like there's a split where some people are like, I walked out, this is terrible. Why would someone make a movie like this? And then there's the other half that are like dressing up gleefully like Art the Clown and love it. And you know what? I respect both sides. I understand it.
When I went to see it, the amount of people in the sunglasses, the sunflower sunglasses, and
absolutely
showed up.
So
it's
funny.
Got a big fan base.
So what can you tell us, like the most difficult part about filming this, as a we'll say as a killer on film? There's a lot of scenes where you're close up. I don't want to say combat but there's a scene in the short where you've got the actress by the throat. Filming those scenes, like the challenge of I don't want to say it's a dangerous scene, but at the same time, letting the other actor, like I've heard a friend of mine does some acting and he's like, you have to almost let that person lead, like where they're comfortable with the scene. So tell us about filming those scenes where you're, it's like action, so to speak, and being able to be safe and, understand that person's thresholds and limits, but still making the scene like believable. Because you got sprayed in the eyes with some cleaner or something too.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking, because it was actually a really smooth shoot for that 8-minute short. I mean, we've obviously in the feature we've come across a few problems we've had to overcome and stuff. But sure. Like in that short, it was the only thing we were fighting was really time, because it was in the summer and we wanted the whole we wanted to get it all done while it was still nighttime, which was the biggest challenge. So the fight scene actually went really smoothly, and yeah, you're absolutely correct. Like in any sort of theatre choking that I've ever had, like stage, whatever the term, stage film choking. Yeah, you put your hands on them, like but with a sort of firm but loose script.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's firmly on there, but there's no actual, And then they take your hand, and so August, the actress, was completely controlling me essentially.
Oh wow.
Okay.
It usually comes off, it comes off looking convincing, and
Very.
the spraying in the eyes. They luckily they found a way of doing it so it didn't actually go in my face. So because it was
That's
actually a real canister, it wasn't like water or anything. So
Yeah.
I've been sprayed in the eyes with other stuff since in the filming of this, but it was all just, it seemed to be pretty smooth and problem free. I don't recall a single real issue on the set on filming of that evening. It was
Nice.
it was
That's awesome. I'm always curious
really
about how that works, especially like, I mean, obviously when you've got scenes that are like martial arts and stuff, there's a lot of choreographed stuff and trying to make it look believable. But I've always wondered, like, because a lot of times, like, you know, you got Michael Myers lifting someone up, you know, and like, I'm always curious on how they do those scenes. But that makes sense because obviously everyone needs to be safe and comfortable. Maybe in 1978 they didn't care as much, but
Maybe not.
but we've got rules now in 2025.
absolutely all the sort of like stage combat and stage fighting experts, they've got a trick for everything usually, and they can make things look amazing. So
That's crazy. So I'm excited to see the film. Do we have a release date yet, or has that not been?
well, we're hoping, so the what we're hoping for is August
Okay.
this year,
Oh, nice.
where it will be I presume the plan at the moment, from what I've heard, is that they're going to release it in festivals first, and
Sure.
then
Right.
hope for some form of distribution from there.
Okay.
I can't, obviously we haven't actually finished filming yet. We're
Okay.
still in with it. We're going to be filming throughout February and March, so and maybe even April provisionally.
Mhm.
So it's obviously, providing everything goes right, I think the plan is for August, so they can hit that Halloween time as well for the horror festivals, I'm guessing. And
That's
Oh,
awesome.
of course, yeah.
Yeah, David, we're gonna have to see if there's any fall festival. Normally, the festivals we go to here in the States
Pretty
are
early.
like we have one in February and one in March, but they also do several in the fall. So we might have to go visit some festivals to see if maybe we can catch a peek of the R.I.P. man. I'll have to
Hell
reach
yeah.
out to Jamie and Reese and be like, hey, send some of
No, I'm
those
sure
over
they'll-
to the U.S.
Send some more, please.
I'm sure they'll happily, guide you to where it's been playing. Because obviously we've been sending the, I don't know if you guys know, we've been sending the short to festivals as well as an 8 short, and we actually, I won an award for best villain on that in a festival.
Nice.
Wow,
Congratulations.
August, one best actress as well. So
That's awesome.
we've got getting positive response. It's great to think, like, I don't know, like people watching it and thinking like, no, that guy, it's a nice
Yeah.
So when they submit that to like festivals, I know Megan went to some award shows and went to some of the festivals. So are you excited? Like, if you're going to are you excited to go walk some red carpets?
Oh, absolutely. If that opportunity comes, I'd love it. I probably wouldn't be traveling to America for the short, but like,
Sure. No, the feature, I mean, the feature.
When it comes out, like, absolutely. It'd be amazing to see. Yeah, providing it does get nominated for things like, obviously the seller's done really well, and hopefully the R.I.P. man can repeat that success. Fingers crossed.
I hope so too, because the villain is unique, and I think that's like that's the hardest part with horror these days is like what hasn't been done, right? I mean, you've got so many classic villains, and I think that maybe half of the majority of your challenge is finding something that's unique about you, like the slasher chasing down teenagers, like it's been done, right? So finding something that sets yourself apart, and I think with this one it definitely sets it apart, and so like I think you've got something there, and so that's exciting, and I think that gets people excited also when they're like, hey, I haven't seen this before.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree, because there's a few things that there's quite a lot of things to the killer, because like obviously the no teeth and the mouth guard with the R.I.P. and the fact he's quite visually striking, the pale face and stuff. But
Yes.
also, like, there's the thing that he sends the text before he kills them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sends
Yeah,
a text, and the fact that
and
he,
the little chattering
the
teeth.
tooth emoji.
yeah, the chattering teeth, of course, as well. The
Yeah.
one that teeth is the calling card, and then there's the collecting dismembering the mouth and collecting a tooth from each victim, and yeah, there's quite a few unique and memorable things to this killer, and I also think that it's in the UK, and obviously there's a great UK horror scene, but as far as slashers go, especially sort of like a teenage slasher films, there's with memorable villains, there's not. I don't know of any myself. I'm sure there's some out there, but it's definitely not a common thing, and I think that'll perhaps help get the film noticed in that way as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I love the costume too. Sorry, Ryan, but
No, you're
I was
good.
just say, like, I love the costume. It just kind of reminds me of almost like a 80s like punk militarized look, and it like really reminded me of the Pink Floyd The Wall, the movie. Like just the getup that you have, like the main character at one point, like it just reminded me of that. Like I just love the look of the character.
Oh,
With like the spikes shoulder pads.
Yeah.
No, spikes on the boots, spikes on the shoulders, yeah.
Yeah.
And big red. I don't know if it's visible in the shot. I can't remember, but he's got a big red X on his back as well. I've not seen The Wall.
Oh no. Yeah, there's like
I've
one part where it just reminded me of it.
I can see that, and I think that's interesting. You mentioned that there's not a lot of like memorable. I'm trying to think now. I'm trying to like rack my brain now for as far as like in the UK, as far as like slashers, because I know there's some, but to your point, now I feel like I have homework now. I want to go like research and find to see if there is any, because I know there's very talented, actors, actresses, filmmakers in the UK, but to your point, as far as like a series, like to your point, there's not a Freddy maybe or a Jason or a Michael Myers, and so that I love that we're starting to see. I mean, with The Cellar and R.I.P. Man, hopefully to start, like you said, to start to see some of that bleed over into other countries. Like, hey, like horror is not. I mean, horror is not just in the United States. Trust me, it's everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. Absolutely, and I've seen a lot of horror films, and and I was racking my brain about it. And everyone I've mentioned it to, I just can't think of one at the moment. I'm sure they're out there, but like,
Right, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I had today. I didn't. David, did you have anything before we wrap up? I didn't want to keep everyone too long.
Oh no, man, we covered what I was going to ask.
Okay, well, Owen, thank you so much for joining us and talking about the film. Man. I'm super excited. Like once it's released, I'd love to have you come back on and do like a launch, and we can like, hey, where can we find it, and like just catch back up and say hello, and don't be a stranger to the show. I appreciate your candor, letting us know what you can without spoiling it.
Exactly.
I'd love that. And do you mind if I just quickly plug our Indiegogo?
Absolutely.
Please go for it.
It's still running at the moment, because even though we've met our minimum budget, we're still hoping to make the scenes better and hope to get some good locations, because obviously the more budget, the more gore and good quality we get. So we're at www.indiegogo.com/projects-R-I-P-man. And there's still a lot of good rewards to get, including like things like you can get your face in the film still by being on the detective's wall. There's there's producer roles, there's signed props, the original screenplay. Obviously, the 8-minute short isn't available to the public, so that's purchasable. You can get a text from the R.I.P. man, with the little teeth in the film.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can get the chattering teeth as a reward. There's plenty there. So if anyone wants to help support the film, please.
Absolutely. And when we post the podcast, we'll put the link to the Indiegogo in there as well. So for those of you that are listening or watching, this will go up on YouTube as well. So we'll have some video and the audio. Definitely go out there. There's an R.I.P. Man trailer you can find on YouTube. That's free. It's a little bit shorter version, but it'll give you an idea of the feeling of the film and how the kind of the general ambient, I would say, like the ambiance of the film and what you're kind of getting into and what you're looking at. There's also a couple of, I saw there's a couple of interviews with you and with what actress's name was there? August?
Yasmin Keen.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so there was some interviews there where they talked about the film a little bit and the Indiegogo
Yeah.
as well. So there's some stuff. We'll post some links out there so people can go support it. If you haven't, go check, like you said, go check out the perks. They are
Yes.
awesome. I cannot wait for this one. It's going to be great. I think. Hopefully we can get some. We'll get some run here in the U.S. as well. If not, I'll have to
Absolutely.
reach out to Jamie and be like, Jamie, we need some links to share with our fans.
Exactly. Spread the word.
So congratulations on the role. Thank
Yeah.
you for joining, and I hope everything goes smoothly. Can't wait to see the final result, and yeah, hopefully we'll catch up soon and we'll talk soon.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely,
like
man.
that. Thank you.
Thanks, Owen. Have a good one. We'll
Thank
post the
you.
link
Take
soon, and
care.
we'll share the podcast. You can share it with everyone.
Yep.
I know, brilliant. Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone.
See ya.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.
Bye.